Hey, welcome to another episode of Makn Life Mobetta Podcast, where we are empowering Black men who grew up without a father to live a godly, purpose-driven life through faith, healing, and sharing their stories. And on today, we have a father in the house. Excited to have him on. He's going to be sharing his story from a different perspective. And I'm going to introduce him in a second. I want to say this right quick for those of you, and I believe that everybody has a story. And if you have a story and you want to get your story out to people and you're looking at starting a podcast, I got the place for you. Click the link in the description and it's going to connect you with David Shan. My 7-figure podcast is who has helped me start this podcast. I had zero experience whatsoever. So start getting your message out there. Don't think about it too long. Don't think about it too much. Just go ahead and get it started. But click the link in the description of this video and you can get information on how you can get started on your podcast journey and sharing your story. All right, so now I want to go ahead and introduce my guest. He's from my hometown, the big town of Hampton, South Carolina. When I introduce him, I'm going to let him tell a little about himself and we're going to get right into this interview, and his name is Mr. Leo Brooker. What's going on, Leo?
Hey, thank you. Glad that you invited me. Doing
yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you. So why don't you just start off a little telling people a little about yourself, like your family, kids, where you're from, your job, just some things.
Okay.
People get to know you.
So I'm originally from Hampton, South Carolina. Went through all the schools locally in the area. Mm-hmm. From there, I graduated and went to South Carolina State University. Okay. And then from there, I was in the banking industry for about 18 years. Okay. In Aiken, South Carolina. And then now currently I am a financial analyst for the Savannah River National Laboratory in Aiken. Okay. I've been married for 20 years and I have two sons, Harrison and Leo Jr.
Gotcha. Okay. Harrison and Leo Jr. When I did the first, his wife, Miss O'Williner, is a real good friend of mine as well. So just want to give her a shout out when she's watching this. Thank you, O'Williner, because when I was speaking with O'Williner, she was the one that was sharing part of your story with you. And I had questions for her then when she was sharing that story. And that's why I said, hey, you think he would be open to being on the podcast. So that's how that came up. So when I did that first episode, which was the letter that I did to my father, and I felt like I had to do that video first to let people know that I'm not just someone that's just talking about this. It has been my experience. And you sent me a text message and you told me that you watched it and how impactful it was. And even before then, that's when your wife had shared with me your story.
Right.
So you would be coming from, your father was involved in your life.
Yes, he was.
And he didn't mention in there his dad had in our hometown, the neighborhood store that was around the corner, Mr. Brooker. So all of us knew everybody. Hampton is not big at all, so everybody knows everybody. His dad had the neighborhood store in the bottom. That was the neighborhood where the store was located. We called that the bottom. So as far as with your situation and your oldest son, you say Leo Jr.
Yes.
His mom, how did y'all meet?
At the time I was living in Greenville. Okay. And she was, we met at the time. I wasn't married. Mm-hmm. And began a relationship. Right. And we didn't make it as far as marriage is concerned, but we ended up having a child.
Right. Okay. And you said she's from Green? She
originally from Lawrence, okay. South Carolina, so it's not too far from Greenville.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was that? You say y'all dated, it didn't work, but y'all did have your son, Leo, yes. Leo Jr.
Yes.
How was it how old was he when y'all separated or stopped dating?
Well, to be quite honest, she was actually pregnant when we separated.
Really?
And
Okay.
yeah, so but by the time he was born, it was, we weren't together. But of course, I wanted to definitely make sure I handled my responsibility,
Right.
being the father.
Gotcha. So when he was born, how was the relationship between? Well, I can back up. Some people, when they separate, it's on good terms.
Sure.
Were you guys, when you separated, was it an agreed upon thing? Was it on good terms? If it wasn't, did it kind of lead over into after she had Leo Jr.?
We weren't on good terms.
Okay.
But here again, when she found out she was pregnant, she made me aware.
Right.
I, of course, said to her, "Hey, despite our differences,
Right.
I will be there." We had different conversations about it. She was really disgruntled, just sort of the way that our relationship ended.
Right.
And she really didn't give me the opportunity that I would have liked,
Right.
to be a part of his life.
Okay. And when we were texting, you had in your text message that financially you did what you were supposed to do financially.
Yes, absolutely.
First of all, I want to commend her for letting you know that she was pregnant, because I've heard some stories to where a situation similar to that, the wife or the woman didn't let the father know that she was pregnant. The father found out years later that he had a son, which she didn't tell. So I want to commend her on letting you know that she was pregnant. And as far as her being disgruntled some to a certain extent, how did that roll over, or did it roll over into you spending time or seeing your son?
It definitely rolled over, because the reason why we separated was there was some dishonesty from the beginning.
Okay.
And so with that being said, I questioned I questioned, hey, is this my son or
Right.
not? Are you, because found out she was involved with another person at the
Gotcha.
time. And so I took upon the steps of making sure I had a DNA test. And of course she was upset, because she questioned, well, why are you questioning me that? Well, the reason why.
Right.
But here again, once we find out, I will definitely do my part.
Right.
And so from that point, it was determined. And she, from I guess because of the way that I took a stance on that, she did in everything that she could possibly do to prevent me from being a part. Even though, I told her specifically I would be there. And through that, I was put on child support almost immediately. But, I having a father, and, him being a big major part of my life.
Right.
I definitely wanted to be a part of my son's life, even though I wasn't able to initially have those rights to see him.
Right.
I had to end up having to go to court to get those things.
Right.
But I made sure financially that he was well taken care of.
Gotcha.
I didn't waste any time or anything of that sort. I just made sure, hey, got with my job that I was working for, said, hey, let's make sure that, whatever I get paid, she gets paid.
Right.
Make sure he's taken care of.
Okay. How did that, what was the question I wanted to ask? How often, while he was growing up, how often did you get if you had the opportunity, how often did you get to see him and spend time with him?
Well, once it was set in stone that I had visitation. We initially started. I would get him every other weekend, according to the orders that was given, and then that probably lasted for about almost a year. Not even quite a year, but almost a year. And she got disgruntled, and of course, right after that, she moved and didn't make me aware of where she went. And that went on for several years. She would move from place to place, and sometimes not making me aware of, where she's currently located at.
Right.
I would have to go to the actual court to find out, documentation wise, to where the child support was going to find out the address. And of course, that's a violation of the order. But one thing that I discovered, and sadly to say, is that it taught me that, unfortunately, fathers a lot of times are not treated the same way in the court system as mothers. Now, that's not a kick against the mothers, but this is the reality of it is. And so I had to go through a lot of extreme measures to even get her in court to make sure that she was held accountable for not allowing me to see my son.
You know what you're saying, that I have a friend that's an attorney, and I think I saw one of his videos, and he said the same thing. James Shad, he's an attorney here in Columbia, and he mentioned that, I think it was his video, he mentioned the same thing, that men that are going to court,
yes,
is different.
Very different.
They are treated differently when they're the one that's trying to do the right thing.
Very differently. I would hear this on a casual basis. They would say, if the child is not sexually abused or physically abused in some sort of verbally abused, your chances of getting your son is slim to none. And I thought that was very disturbing.
Right.
And even when you would go to court, I would go to court and I mentioned, hey, Your Honor, I'm here in reference to not seeing my son.
Right.
And also mentioning, that, some of the things that were going on. They clearly would say, hey, that's a separate subject. If we're here, if she would bring me in to get more child support, they'll say, hey, that's a different case. Child support, visitation are two different things. And I was shocked because they both correlate.
Right.
And so one thing that helped me through my journey is they had this program called the Fatherhood Coalition Program.
Heard of that.
The one that I was initially assigned to was in Greenville, South Carolina, but there were many other sites throughout the country.
Right.
And it really helped me because they, and I'm a strong advocate for them, because they hire an attorney to help with fathers who are not seeing their child, or they may have a situation. And also being around other fathers who have had similar situations that I've had, to be able to talk and share and sometimes encourage.
Right.
I'll just be brief, but I even had where sometimes I had my wife, she would come to sit in to observe and to listen, to know exactly how to support me by hearing either our interaction with other fathers.
Right.
So it's really a powerful thing. But unfortunately, that's the only vehicle that I know. And so there's not in every town or every location that there's a fatherhood organization such as that. That should be something that should be etched in stone, in my opinion, by law.
Well, I'm glad you had that to be able as a support system. How old was he when you got married, your son?
He, at the time, let's see, he was I would say roughly, he probably was around about 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
Yes.
Okay.
When I got married, and that was also another challenge within itself, of course.
Really?
Yes. I think there when he was coming along, she would sometimes discourage him to want to have a relationship with me. She would say things like, "Oh, he doesn't have any time for you. He's now married," or just different things that would cause him to manipulate him, to cause him to feel even uncomfortable being around. And then when we had a child, my youngest son, I vividly remember at that time I was visiting my son, and I would like to, as our audience is listening, I remember there were times that I would have to, the only way I would see my son, here again, like I said, sometimes I wouldn't have the address, but I knew what school he went to. So sometimes I would have to go to his school, preschool, different years of him being in school. Right. And that would be the only time I would be able to see him. Sometimes it would be, I would drive, at the time I was living in Aiken, and that from Greenville is 2.5 hours away. So, and I would literally sometimes get off work, drive 2.5 hours just to see 10 minutes or 15 minutes with him. And that may be sometimes the only time I would see him.
Wow. And how long, what stretch? Like how many years is that?
I actually, that took place 18 years. Here again, there were some years that I wasn't able to see him. And I was always still taking care of my financial responsibility. Right. But there were, throughout the course of 18 years, it would go off and on, different times, numerous times.
And I think you mentioned that, so whenever she would move from place to place and not notify the courts or notify you that was happening, was that like a violation when she would do that? Could she just up and do that and not?
Oh, it was a violation for sure. She would notify the courts of where to send the check to, of course, but she would not notify me. And that was part of the order that we communicate. And so that was the thing that was missing a lot, is that she was not willing to cooperate in communicating. Right. It was like, hey, I want things to go my way. If it doesn't go my way, then I'm going to make you pay. Wow.
And when she violated, did she have any consequences, or was it a slap on the wrist? And
many times it was a slap on the wrist, but there were a few times that she was held accountable. Okay. But for the most part, it was a slap on the wrist. Here again, the court system they looked at the situation differently for fathers versus the mothers. Yeah. I remember vividly when we had mediation, and mediation was set up through the Brotherhood Coalition. Right. Because here again, like I said, they would come to court and try to be an advocate. Right. And so when I was going through the program, they offered mediation, and so that allowed me to see him because it was court ordered. Right. So she had to bring him, and so when we would have mediation, the court also required that because there were different laps of when we saw when I saw my son, that they wanted the child, of course, to be comfortable to be in my home. Right. Whenever I was able to get him. Right. And so they hired what they call a guardian litem. Okay. And the guardian litem was responsible to making sure that both homes were adequate. And so they would have to come visit us way down in Aiken, and they would also do the same for her. But they would say, hey, we don't see nothing wrong with the Brooker family. They have everything set up for him. but there are some issues on the other end. And when I would, my attorney would bring those things up, it was just as though it was not enough to say, hey, maybe we need to look more into seeing if the child's better fit, with the father.
In all of that time, the years,
Yes.
did they even consider doing that?
No. They didn't consider that, because here again, their thought was, if he's not physically abused, sexually abused, mentally abused, they felt that the mother
Was fit.
or the child was better fit with the mother. And it just didn't make any sense at all. But unfortunately, many fathers that I've talked to have had that experience.
And I'm sitting here listening to your story, and with the relationship you have with your dad and the relationship you tried to have with your son.
Yes.
Being there, driving 2.5 hours just to see him for 10 minutes. And when I'm sitting here listening to it, I can't help but reflect on my father not being involved. Like, that's the complete opposite of what you've done and what you're trying to do. And people ask me sometimes, I'll be like, you know what? It can be little things, and I'm quite sure you can relate to this from your perspective as well. It can be little things that can happen, not bad things. It can be something good. This story that you shared is a good story overall, but how the things that you went through in trying to be there for your son, just driving, just the thought. I'm thinking about the thoughts that you were having just driving there, and just how did that affect you mentally?
It affected me tremendously. There were times where it felt like things weren't going to get any better.
Right.
Many times, the thought even came, maybe I should just give up. I'm paying child support. I'm doing that. I'm also going above and beyond, not just paying child support. When Christmas time came or anything, a birthday, I'm sending gifts. And it's like, I'm not seeing, I'm missing out on great opportunity to have a real relationship with him.
Right.
And so there were times where I really felt bad, but I thank God that I had a good supporting cast, my wife, and it just my faith in God that He was going to get through it. I just wouldn't allow myself to just go through maybe sometimes thoughts that come in your mind. One day it's going to turn around, but it was tough mentally, because you can imagine you spend, you're anticipating seeing your son, and there were times where I would drive there, getting off work, and driving 2.5 hours, only for her to not even show up. And I'm sitting there like, I can't believe this. But here again, to keep the aspect of it that's frustrating is you in order for you to, what I would have to do is get a police report done, and then I would try to go back to court. Every time you go back to court, you have to file it. You have to file to have your day in court.
Right.
But then you also have to serve. The papers have to be served. And that was a challenge within itself, and because she would do her very best to not be served, and so after a certain period of time, that court date gets thrown out, and so you've already invested in an attorney, your time, sometime a private investigator had to hire to get her served, only sometimes the case get thrown out because they weren't able to properly serve her.
Wow. So that's money that you
money that I had wasted.
that was wasted.
Yes, it was wasted.
I didn't know that. I don't know. I thought they would continue to try to serve.
They will give you X amount of days, and if because both parties have to be served,
Right.
and if both parties not served in a certain amount of days, then your case gets your day in court gets thrown out.
Wow.
So it becomes almost a money thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here again, that's why I emphasize the point that it's really tough as a father,
Right.
In court, and I think the reason why that happens a lot is because the courts kind of look at, they have different cases throughout, that they see each and every day, and not to justify what they do, but the mindset is a lot of times you have fathers that are not doing their part.
Right.
That makes it bad for fathers that are doing their part. And so when you're coming before the courts, they are not as open to doing above and beyond to help you.
Right. Did his mom did she ever get married?
She never was married.
Dating?
She did date, but she never was married. So my son, did have whoever she dated, they were involved, of course, sometime in being around him.
Right.
And of course, as a father, that's concerning because you want your child to be around good figures.
Exactly.
And so here again, and the communication was, not a lot.
Right.
And so, it was a time where I really just, here again, just had to put my faith in God and do my level best.
Right.
To, to be there when I could.
Right. Wow. And that would, if it wasn't like a long-term relationship, then it would be different. And just imagining what he was going through.
Yes.
As a son with, this one, and if she started dating somebody else, there was no type of stability at all. Were you able to talk to him on the phone, or did she try to limit all of that?
Occasionally it would happen. Mm-hmm. Most of the time it wasn't. It wasn't until he got older that we were able to communicate a little bit more.
Right.
But at that time, he's a teenager, and his mindset is, my father's not in my life.
Right.
He's hearing things. His mother's saying, "Hey, I'm taking care of everything. Where's your daddy at?" And he would sometimes, make me aware of that. I would with the times that we were able to see him, and a lot of the time was when he was very younger. Mm-hmm. He would say little things. Well, my mom said this and said that, and I'm like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he, was old enough to realize, hey, my father, everything that I'm hearing is not really what it is.
Right.
And so now we have a very, very, our relationship is very good compared to what it was.
Right.
Years ago. He's 22 years old now. And of course he's an adult. So, him and I we've communicated, we've built a relationship, but it's taking time, and it's still a work in progress.
Right.
Because of the trauma that he's had to experience.
Yeah.
And even when we're talking and we're having conversations of the past, he tends to want to not deal with that because, here again, he's still, he lives with her, and it's something that he's not ready to address.
Right.
And so, I try to, always make him aware that, hey, anytime you want to talk about what happened, I'm very open to tell you.
Right.
And so, It was a toll a lot on him. And of course, when he was a teenager, at the time, he wasn't really receptive to
Right.
to talk to me or be around me as much because of what he was told. He was manipulated.
Then I wonder if mothers, or in this case, a mother, when she's doing that, is she realizing what damage, or if she even thinks she's causing any damage to him, your son, by telling him those things about you? And in the school system, I would see that. I would see the mom talking about the dad. And one mom, she was going off and talking about, your daddy ain't this, your daddy not that, and I'm doing all of this and I'm doing all of that. And what I heard was, it was a similar type situation. Dad was dating somebody else and he tried to be involved. She didn't want her to, so she was feeding him all of this. And I said, excuse me. And it was one of my students' parents. I said, can I say something? She's like, go ahead. I said, you might want to stop saying that. She said, why? I said, because I'm not telling you what to do. I may be out of line for telling you this as a teacher, but it was laid on my heart because it's something that I experienced. You may, while you telling him, and I didn't say this in front of him, I said, while you saying that about his dad, he might be building up resentment against you.
Yes.
I said, my father chose not to be involved in my life. I said, I tried to hate him. I said, but it was something within me, even with me trying to hate him and go through all these other negative feelings and emotion about my father, something in me still wanted to connect with him.
Yes.
So while you're telling him this, it could be the same thing. It could be something within him that wants to connect with his father. And there may come a time where he will get an opportunity to talk to his father, and then he's going to realize what you were doing was manipulating him. I said, is that what you want to risk? But she was so to a point of wanting to hurt the father, it was like she didn't care about her son's emotion, didn't care about his feelings. And when I hear you saying that about your son, like he's 22 and he's not at the point to where he's ready to talk about it. Just imagine thinking about myself throughout the years growing up, all of the different emotions that I went through. Probably the same thing with him, but different emotions because you were a father trying to reach out and talk to him.
Yes.
That's tough.
And I'll tell you, Maurice, one thing I definitely have to give credit to is my wife. Things started to, as I said, it was more of his latter years of his of being an adult. She was able to kind of be a bridge where the gap was, even communicating with my son's mother. I remember on one occasion, we were there to visit him, and my wife said, "Hey, we're getting ready to go have breakfast. Would you like to join us?" And surprisingly, she was willing to do that. Initially, she was like, well, we really would like you be our guest. Please come. And my wife was able to talk to her directly on my behalf, even though I was standing there. There was some way or another that she was able to state or say some of the things that I would try to say, but I guess in a different manner. And it helped, I guess you say, break things to some degree. Okay. And over the years, she's been, over the last few years, she's been a little bit more. She's been more receptive. Of course, he's an adult now, so it's on, it's on him really. And here again, like I said, a lot of the. Still now, some of the uncertainties or his behavior of trust,
Right.
I know where it comes from.
Gotcha.
Even if I say, "Hey, son, I love you," it's with hesitation to get that reply back.
Wow.
And I understand that, and I don't push that, but a lot of it is because of the trauma that he experienced.
Right.
Of hearing one, opinion, and that be the only opinion you really, have to go off of until you finally meet me,
Right.
and really get to know me to realize that,
Right.
a lot of these things were not true.
And I'm wondering if him not really wanting to deal with it now could be if I open up and start dealing with it. And because I'm staying with my mom, I may not intentionally start being a certain way, or sometimes you can see a person's body language, or when something is not right. And she may be able to see that. And you know how we are as kids with our parents, especially boys with their mom, we're willing to do anything to spare their feelings. And even if it was at his detriment, going through the trauma that he went through with her not allowing him to see you. Yeah. And you answered the question I was going to ask you, and I'm pretty sure, knowing who Willen is, the part that she played in that.
Yes.
Yeah. So do your two sons, do they have a relationship?
They do. They do have a relationship. I think it's still a work in progress. And the reason why I say that is because, here again, we were talking about some of the experiences that I felt without him being present a lot of times. My youngest son also, felt some sense of abandonment from his older brother.
Wow.
Just because, he was the only child in the house, and he saw many of his cousins or friends had siblings, and not being able to sometimes tangibly, be around him, or feeling as though where I have a big brother, but I don't have a big brother that's able to even impart into me.
Wow.
And there were times that I would talk to my oldest son and say, "Hey, you got a little brother that looks up to you. He really, really wants a relationship with you."
Right.
And my oldest son would say, "Yeah, I need to do better." But I remember vividly, a couple of years ago, I was talking to my youngest son, and I said, "Hey, I, as his father, still have, it's a work in progress, with me. So I get it, how you feel." And he said, simply, he said, "Dad, you know what I just come to realize is that he just doesn't know how to be my older brother."
That was a thought I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a powerful statement that he made. And I said, wow. So to answer your question, they do have their relationship. They do have a relationship. I think my youngest son is a little hesitant, because sometimes it's like, okay, I don't want to get so attached, and then, hey, I may not see you for a while again.
Right.
And so, but any opportunity I get, I will try to get the boys and together. Many times I'll have my son and youngest son, and I'll say, "Hey, I'm going to Greenville. You want to ride with me?" And I'll take both of the boys out for lunch and talk. But then I am also cognitive to know that there are some times when I need to have one-on-one with each of them.
Right.
Because here again, my oldest son, because he didn't have those times younger, he's looking to see, hey, are you going to spend some time with me?
Right.
My younger brother, who's you know, that lives with you.
Right.
And so, you know, it's sometimes a juggling act.
Right. Right.
But what I've always made my oldest son aware is, hey, I love you just as much as I love your brother.
Right.
Even though we weren't always together, I've never. I mean, you're my first son.
Right.
You know, I became a son because of you.
Right.
But there's no separation there,
Right.
and I do the same thing, vice versa. You know,
Right.
so it's working. It's a work in progress.
Right.
But I do see change.
Okay.
Yeah, progress.
Okay. And how old is Harrison?
Actually, it'll be 16 next week.
16 next week.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a 16-year-old. My youngest son is 16. My oldest son is 22. So
Okay.
it's a nice side gap, you know,
Right,
age wise. So here again, was one of the reason why I emphasized to my oldest son is like, hey, believe it or not, your younger brother he's paying attention, you know, and I'm looking for you to be the lead in that sense, you know.
Yeah.
He looks up to you, you know, whatever you can impart in him, whatever experiences you've had being an older brother.
Right.
I don't have a problem with you sharing as long as it's the right thing.
Yeah. Does he have any, Leo Jr., does he have any other siblings?
He has an older brother.
He has an older brother.
He has an older brother.
Okay.
And he went through a similar situation.
Really?
Yes. And so, you know, he actually for a while didn't have a good relationship with his father.
Wow.
And I think now it may be a little bit better, but there's some resentment of how he was withheld from being around his father. Yeah.
And what you saying that about the older brother, similar situation, their mom. How was her home situation, like her parents? Did she have both parents?
She had both parents, but their relationship was sort of up and down.
Okay.
They both had children from other people.
Okay.
And she was the only one that they had together.
Gotcha.
And it was times that I would see where my son's mother was not, she didn't really have a good relationship a lot of times with, I don't want to say didn't have a good relationship, but her and her mom sometimes would have challenges, and
Right.
she really wasn't too much interacting with her siblings. So I say all that, perhaps maybe that was some of the reason that, you know, she, you know, was with her, you know, later on, you know, maybe some of her behavior stemmed from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody, goes through some type of trauma.
Yes.
When they were younger, and how it carries over into adulthood. And I'm just when you said your Harrison feeling some type of abandonment because his older brother is not involved with him like he wants it to be, and I will share with how my father not being involved in my life affected every area of my life. And recently, it has been, and the fear of abandonment was a big thing with me. And I just, as an adult, probably within the past 10 years, after I started seeing a therapist, found out that that's what it was, the fear of abandonment. And just recently, like within the past few days, no longer than the past week, it was the same thing with me with friendships. How I would hold on to friendships that was not, I would say, beneficial from both parts or both sides. And being the one that's always reaching out, calling to check. And some of my friends, I let them know, hey, the only time I hear from you, when I call. No, it's not like that. Yes, it is. And one, I told that it's been almost 10 years. And I happened to remember my birthday a couple of years ago, reached out to her to tell her happy birthday. And I don't hardly hear from you. I said, remember the last time we talked, I told you I'm going to wait and see how long it's been. And I would ask myself, like, why am I holding on to these friendships, even being in relationships and wanting to be friends with an ex? And it was abandonment, fear of them leaving. And that abandonment can show up in different forms, in different areas of your life. And had I learned this a couple of years ago, it probably would have just put me in some place emotionally, like, because I said I wouldn't be, if it was a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, doing this podcast, some things came up because you was coming to the barbershop.
Right.
Me doing that, stuff surfaced.
Wow.
When I'm sitting there listening,
wow,
it was things coming up, things surfacing.
Yeah.
And then couldn't fully, like, what is this?
Yeah.
Couldn't fully deal with it or how to handle it. And then when the guys, I think it was maybe one or two times, it was one time I was there. I was the only person there. And that was like, okay, I'm out. That was almost like, okay, nobody showed up.
Right.
Now let me go ahead and ease on out. But truth be told, things started surfacing. And I can't remember the exact feelings that was coming up during that time. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, I started doing this where we would meet up at the barbershop,
right,
where the guys would meet up at the barbershop and we just sit and have a conversation. Mm-hmm. So, and how long did we do that? I think a couple of months.
A couple months, yeah. Yeah.
I wish I could pinpoint what it was, the thing that came up, but that's what started it. And then when it started dwindling down, that one time nobody came, I was like, oh well, nobody showed up. So
yeah.
What would you believe it's been 48 minutes. What would you tell, what would be your advice? Because I'm sure there's somebody that's going through what you went through. What would be your advice to a father that's going through what you went through?
Simply never give up, and don't despise small beginnings.
Okay.
Simply, sometimes it feels like an eternity. It felt like an eternity. Mm-hmm. But I remain to be consistent.
Right.
From a financial perspective.
Right.
But not only that, but just from a loving perspective. And,
right.
And always trying to reach out.
Right.
And sometimes I might have struck out, but continually still trying to fight for
right.
The opportunity, because I've had some friends that have had some situations not quite like mine, but somewhat similar, and they've simply told me like, hey, I'm not even worried about it anymore. I'm like, hey man, don't give up.
Wow.
Don't give up. And I'm a living witness.
Right.
That you just be consistent.
Right.
Would be my encouragement to anyone that's going through this, is to be consistent.
Right.
Things will turn around eventually. Sometime, unfortunately, it happens when they're an adult. But it may be different. It may, every situation is different, but it may happen beforehand. But just be consistent.
Right.
Because that's what you really have. I mean, that's your holding state in the whole situation, because even though you're not seeing maybe directly the results that you desire, that child is checking every moment to see if what they have been told is the truth or not.
Right.
They consciously are thinking like, okay, did my mom, so this is what she's saying, this is where I'm seeing, or
Right.
So be consistent, stay consistent, stay committed. It gets tough. I will not lie. There are times, like I said, that it was tougher than others, but having a good supporting cast, my faith in God, and just, I just kept being consistent.
Right.
I think is what I would say the most important thing when you're in that situation.
And I've heard you say several times throughout this interview, your faith in God.
Yes, definitely. Without that, I probably would have given up a long time ago.
Right.
That's really been my pillar to cry on.
Right.
Times of despair or needing direction is my faith in God, and Him leading me and guiding me through it all, and like I said, having a supporting cast that was in agreement with me.
Right.
Spiritually.
Yeah, that's major. A lot of people, I can imagine, don't have that.
Yes.
I can imagine there are some fathers out there that don't have a relationship with God and trying to figure this thing out, and how to make it happen, how to do it. So, well, man, I appreciate you coming out, opening up, sharing while we were sitting here talking. I think every interview that I've done, or every podcast interview, me doing solo interviews, something about it or some things about it make me reflect on my situation and my father. And I want to say, man, hats off to you for not giving up, being consistent, driving the 2.5 hours to see 10 minutes to see him. And I'm sure he probably haven't said it yet. I'm sure he appreciates the little small things that you have done. I'm praying for that moment when you all sit down and talk, when he do open up and share with you he may not even know what's going on the inside now. Just, hey, something ain't right, and I just don't know, because I was like that. I knew something wasn't right. I didn't know how to express it. I didn't know what it was. I knew something was in there, and mine was being channeled out in different things, the drinking and among other things. So, man, I really appreciate you doing that. And one thought I had was, man, he went after his son consistently.
Yes.
And my father chose not to be involved at all. So I commend you on that. And on one episode I said, I believe that our black men want to do better. And you are an example of that. But what seems to be highlighted more are the dads that's not doing that.
That's right.
Even with my dad, if he ever runs across any of this, I don't think him in a bad or negative way anymore. I used to be that way. So thank you for coming out. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Anything you want to say before we end? Any parting words?
I just here again, thank you for the opportunity. I know this was a different lane, so to speak, but it all ties together.
It does.
And,
yeah, absolutely.
I encourage those who are watching this to, share this, because there may be someone that's going through that currently at this time. And the episodes that I have listened to, it's been powerful, as I said before. It's impactful, and it's definitely needed.
Yeah,
so I just want to
is.
encourage everyone who's listening to please share this. This is, I thank God for Maurice availing himself each and every week to highlight different aspects of his life personally. But as he said earlier, it's also, I think it is opening doors, and it's opening areas that are need healing.
Yeah.
And so I thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I believe that there are going to be some fathers that's going to go to their sons and apologize and be like, hey, give me a chance.
Yes.
So.
And one other thing, and that has come to my mind, is I want to encourage the fathers that if you've had a challenge in getting things right, it's never too late. It's never too late. And just remember, just to always, what's in the past is in the past, but what you do going forward, just stay consistent. Be consistent in whatever you do to try to bridge that gap with your children.
Yeah. Appreciate it again.
So, thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, that's another episode on the wraps. Thank you so much for taking the time out to watch and stay to the end. I hope you got something for it. Got something from it. Please share it, because you don't know who is going through a similar situation. And with Leo sharing his story, I know that is going to be a blessing to someone. So thank you. God bless. And we'll check you out on the next episode of Making Life Mobetta Podcast. Have a good one.